That voice behind me stopped me colder than the winter air blowing down Nationwide Boulevard. My fingers tightened around the thumb drive. I turned slowly, my heartbeat drumming in my ears. And there he was. Agent Mark Hollis, dark suit, FBI badge clipped to his belt. The same agent who had visited our office months earlier during a routine compliance audit. Except now, there was nothing routine about the look on his face. His eyes flicked from my hand to the FBI building entrance behind me. "Maya," he said quietly, stepping closer, "you can't walk through those doors." My throat tightened. "Why?" He exhaled, long, frustrated, almost pained. "Because someone already tipped them off. If you go inside right now, you won't leave." My stomach dropped. "Tom?" I whispered. He shook his head. "Bigger." I stepped back. "Maya," he said, holding up a hand as if calming a frightened animal, "please don't run." "Then tell me the truth," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Are you part of this?" The look in his eyes changed. Not guilt, not fear, but something like resignation. "No," he said softly, "but someone in my division is, and they know you have evidence." The city noise around us blurred into nothing. The cars, the traffic lights, the hum of late-night pedestrians. Just me. A corrupt corporation behind me, a compromised federal building in front of me, and one agent, maybe the only person not trying to hurt me, standing inches away. He lowered his voice. "I'm here because Daniel contacted me before he disappeared." I felt my breath catch. "You knew him?" "Yes," Mark said. "He trusted me, and when he vanished, I knew something was wrong. But every time I pushed the investigation, my reports went missing, my leads vanished, my requests were denied." I whispered, "And you still stayed at the FBI?" His jaw tightened. "I stayed because if I left, the people doing this would win, and someone had to stay inside to watch." I swallowed hard. "What happened to Daniel?" Mark's face darkened. "He was taken before he reached me by the same men that were after you tonight." My knees weakened. "He's dead?" Mark hesitated, the hesitation of someone who knew too much and wasn't allowed to say it. "Let's just say he's not coming back." A shiver ripped through me. I glanced at the FBI building again. "So if I go inside," he said, bluntly, "you'll disappear, just like him." My pulse pounded so hard it hurt. Then Mark reached slowly into his coat. I flinched, stepping back. He held up both hands. "No weapon. I'm not here to hurt you." He pulled out a burner phone, cheap, gray, scratched. "Take this," he said, offering it. "Do not use your own phone. Don't call anyone. Don't go home. And whatever you do, do not walk into that building." I stared at the phone, but didn't take it yet. "Why help me?" His answer was quiet. "Because Daniel asked me to protect whoever came next. And now, that's you." I finally took the phone. It felt heavy, like it carried a warning inside it. Mark glanced over my shoulder toward the street, and his expression sharpened. "They found you." My heart flipped. "Who?" A black SUV turned onto Nationwide Boulevard, the same model I saw earlier at the Ravenwood parking garage. Shiny, tinted windows, moving too slowly to be normal. Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice even more. "Maya, listen to me carefully. You need to leave the area right now." I shook my head. "Where am I supposed to go?" He looked around, scanning every face in the crowd, then leaned in so close I could feel his breath against my ear. "There's someone in Dayton he whispered. Outside the corrupted chain, someone Daniel trusted. My pulse quickened. Who? He pressed a small folded paper into my palm. Go here, but don't drive straight. Don't take your own car. Don't tell anyone where you're going. The SUV slowed in front of us. A window rolled down a few inches. A pair of eyes watched me. Mark's face tightened. No more time. He stepped between me and the street. Maya, run. I can't leave you, I said, my voice cracking. Yes, you can, he said sharply. I can slow them down. You can't. What if they kill you? He managed a faint, tired smile. I've been dead on paper for months. Trust me, they won't bother killing me twice. The SUV's door cracked open. Mark shoved me hard. Go. I stumbled backward, gripping the burner phone and thumb drive, my heart pounding like a drum inside my chest. I turned, ran into the crowd, pushed past people on the sidewalk, didn't look back. But just before I rounded the corner, I heard shouting, a scuffle, boots on pavement. Someone grabbed Mark, and then a gunshot. One single, echoing crack that froze me in place for half a second. My brain refused to process it. Mark! No! No! People screamed behind me. I forced myself to run again. Tears burning down my cheeks, lungs aching, legs numb. I didn't stop until the FBI building was out of sight, swallowed by the night and the sirens. When I finally ducked behind a brick wall in a side alley, my hands shook violently as I opened the folded paper he gave me. A single address. 1180 Harrison Road, Dayton, Ohio, safe. No name, no instructions. Just one word at the bottom. Run. So I did. I ran into the night, carrying the only evidence that could save my life and the blood of the man who died protecting it. I didn't stop running until my legs were shaking so badly that they nearly gave out. Downtown Columbus blurred behind me, the lights, the sirens, the shouting. Every sound felt like a threat. Every car that passed made my stomach twist. I ducked behind a dumpster, behind a small pizza shop on Front Street, breathing hard, trying to pull myself together. Mark was dead. They shot him, not even trying to hide it, and he died, buying me 10 seconds. 10 seconds that might be the only thing keeping me alive. I clutched the burner phone and the folded paper in my other hand. 1180 Harrison Road, Dayton, OH. Safe. Dayton was an hour away. Too far to run, too risky to drive, too dangerous to call for a ride. I crouched there in the freezing alley, my breath turning into white fog, trying to think like someone who was being hunted. Then I remembered something Mark said. Don't drive straight. Don't take your own car. My car was still at Ravenwood. They could track it, tow it, search it, use it as bait. And if Tom and his men found it, they'd know one thing. I was still alive. I needed to disappear, fast. I unzipped my jacket and shoved a thumb drive deep into my inner pocket. I pulled my hood up, wiped my face, and stepped onto the sidewalk, trying to look normal even though my hands were still shaking. On the corner, a bus was pulling up, an old faded Coda bus heading toward West Columbus. Not Dayton, but away from danger. For the first time in hours, luck was on my side. I stepped on, digging in my pocket for coins. The driver barely looked at me, just nodded as I paid. I sat in the back row, pulling my hood lower. My reflection in the scratched bus window didn't look like me. I looked like someone who'd been running for her life. Because I was. I watched the city lights blur past as the bus rolled west. 15 minutes later, we reached Franklinton, one of the oldest neighborhoods in Columbus. It wasn't the safest, but that meant something important. Strangers blended in. I got off near a 24-hour gas station and sat on a bench behind it, hidden from the street. For a long moment, I just sat there, breathing, trying to steady my nerves. Then I pulled out the burner phone. There was one contact saved in it: call only if safe. My thumb hovered over the number, but something inside me paused. If Mark knew there was corruption inside the FBI, what if this number wasn't safe either? What if the person in Dayton was the only real uncontaminated contact left? I closed the phone. Just as I did, a single car rolled slowly into the gas station parking lot and stopped just long enough for the driver to look out the window. My stomach dropped. The same black SUV from Nationwide Boulevard turned the corner a block away. They were searching block by block. I slipped behind the gas station, keeping to the shadows, every instinct screaming to stay small, stay invisible. I ran along the back alley, heart pounding uncontrollably. The snow on the ground muffled my footsteps, giving me just enough cover. I needed transportation. Something untraceable, something that wouldn't draw attention. Then I saw it. A taxi parked outside a small bar, the driver standing by the door smoking a cigarette. He wasn't paying attention. The bar was nearly empty. I approached slowly. "Excuse me," I said, my voice steady, even though my insides were shaking. "Can you take me to Dayton?" The driver raised an eyebrow. "Dayton? That's not exactly around the corner." "I'll pay cash, a lot of cash." He took a long drag on his cigarette, thinking, then shrugged. "Hop in." I slid into the back seat, pulling the hood tighter around my face. As we pulled out of the parking lot, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then a text came through. "Maya, running won't save you." My chest tightened. Another message. "Come back now and we can fix this. No one has to get hurt." My hands shook as I typed back, "You already hurt someone." 3 dots appeared. Then a final message. "That wasn't us, but we know who did it. You're alone in this, Maya, and you won't survive without help." I looked out the back window. The black SUV turned into the same street we had just left. My taxi driver pulled onto I-70 West, engine humming steady, leaving Columbus behind. I turned off the burner phone. I didn't know who was texting me. Tom? The board? One of the men chasing me? Or someone much worse? But I knew one thing. Whoever sent that message was lying, because Mark died protecting me. And now I owed him the truth. I owed Daniel the truth. I owed myself the truth. I leaned back in the taxi seat, clutching the thumb drive as the dark highway stretched ahead. Next stop, Dayton, Ohio. And whatever waited at 1180 Harrison Road, I prayed it was the safe house Mark promised, because I had nowhere else to run. The taxi rolled west on I-70, the highway stretching out like a dark, endless ribbon across Ohio. The snow along the side of the road reflected the moonlight, giving everything a cold blue glow. The driver hummed quietly along with the radio, completely unaware that I was clutching evidence powerful enough to bring down a corporation or get me killed before sunrise. Somewhere between Columbus and Springfield, my adrenaline wore off. The burn in my legs, the sting in my scraped hands, the ache in my chest, everything hit me at once. I leaned my head back and closed my eyes, not to sleep, just to breathe. But peace never lasts. The burner phone buzzed in my pocket. My heart lurched. I didn't take it out, didn't answer, didn't even look. Instead, I pressed my palm over it, telling myself not to fall for whatever trap they were trying to pull. I stared out the window. Empty fields, a barn half collapsed under winter snow, a long stretch of dark road. The middle of nowhere. Perfect place to make someone vanish. I checked the side mirror. No headlights behind us. For once, a good sign. After an hour, the driver cleared his throat. "So, What's in Dayton, if you don't mind me asking? My body tensed. A friend, I said quickly. Emergency. He nodded like he'd heard that answer 1,000 times. Well, if you need anything, there's a truck stop coming up in about 15 minutes. Food, bathrooms, gas, whatever you need. Thank you, I said softly. He nodded again. Then his eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. You okay back there? You look like you've been crying. I swallowed. It's been a long day. He didn't ask more. Thank God. About 20 minutes later, glowing lights appeared on the horizon. The driver pulled into a Love's travel stop near Enon, Ohio. A row of trucks sat idling outside. Inside, the bright fluorescent lights made the place look cleaner than most truck stops I'd seen. I stepped out, stretching my stiff legs. I'll grab a coffee. I'll be right back. No rush, the driver said. I'll fuel up. Inside, the travel stop was quiet. Early morning truckers were pouring coffee, grabbing snacks, stretching their backs. I walked straight to the restroom, washed my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. Red-eyed eyes, wind-burned cheeks, fear written all over me. But beneath the fear, a hard, cold determination. I wasn't done running, not until I knew everything. As I walked out, I noticed something that made my stomach clench. A white SUV parked near the pumps. Not black like before, but the same tinted windows, the same slow, watchful stance. Then a man stepped out, tall, broad, wearing a dark coat and a cap pulled low, and he looked straight at me. My heart stopped. I forced myself to keep walking, heading towards the taxi. But then the man started walking too. Not running, not yelling, just approaching. Slow, purposeful. My brain screamed, "Move!" I reached the taxi just as the driver finished fueling. He asked, "Everything all right?" "No," I whispered. "Drive, right now." He blinked. Then he saw the man. He didn't argue. We jumped in. He hit the gas, tire squealed on the frozen pavement. The SUV started its engine. "Seatbelt," the driver yelled. I buckled it as the taxi shot out of the parking lot and back onto I-70. The SUV pulled out behind us, fast. "Is that your friend?" the driver asked. "No," I said, voice shaking. "That's the opposite of a friend." We were moving 70 miles per hour. The SUV was moving 75, closing in. My breath caught. "Can you go faster?" I asked. The driver shook his head. "This old car only has so much in her." I glanced out the back window. The SUV was less than 10 car lengths behind. Then my burner phone vibrated again. I pulled it out. A text from an unknown number. "Mercedes M-Class, white, 2 men inside. They found you at the truck stop." My blood turned to ice. Another text. "Don't panic. You can still lose them before Dayton." And a third. "Tell your driver to take exit 47. Do not stay on the highway." "Who is this?" I whispered. 3 dots appeared. Then, someone who wants the truth out. Someone who knew Daniel. I didn't know if it was a trap, but staying on the highway was definitely a trap. "Driver," I said quickly, "take exit 47, right there." "That little back road?" "Yes, please." He didn't hesitate. He swerved to the exit lane. The SUV sped up to follow. Then a semi-truck changed lanes unexpectedly, blocking it. The SUV honked, swerved, fell behind. We shot down the back road, a winding rural route cutting through dark woods and frozen farmland. The driver exhaled hard. "You want to tell me what the hell's going on?" I shook my head. "For your safety, no." He didn't ask again. We drove in tense silence until he finally said, "We're coming up on Dayton." My heartbeat quickened. The burner phone buzzed. "Slow down before turning onto Harrison Road. The safe house is small, easy to miss." I swallowed. We were close. After everything, the rooftop escape, the chase through Columbus, Mark's death, the SUV at the truck stop, I was finally about to reach the only place left where I might still be alive in the morning. The driver turned onto a quiet road lined with bare trees. Harrison Road. The snow crunched under the tires. On the left, a mailbox leaned sideways. On the right, an old barn collapsed into itself. Then I saw it. A small, single-story brick building. No lights, no driveway, just an old wooden door and one tiny window. "Is that it?" the driver asked. "It has to be." I paid him extra and stepped out into the cold. "Good luck," he said softly. I nodded. He drove off, leaving me alone in the silent dark. I walked to the little building, heart hammering, thumb drive in one hand, burner phone in the other. I knocked. Silence. Knocked again. Nothing. I reached for the doorknob, hesitated. Then the door opened 2 inches. A single eye stared out through the crack. A rough voice said, "Who sent you?" My breath caught. "Daniel," I whispered, "and an FBI agent named Mark Hollis." The door opened wider. A man stepped back to let me in. A man I recognized only from rumors, from whispers Daniel once mentioned. A man the company thought was dead. A man who should have disappeared years ago. The last person I ever expected to see alive. The man who opened the door stood in the shadows of the tiny brick safe house. The dim light behind him made it hard to see his face fully, but his posture, the intensity in his eyes, the way he scanned the road behind me, I knew him. Even though I had seen him only once, years ago, in an employee photo buried deep in Ravenwood's old directories. "Come in," he said sharply. I stepped inside. He shut the door behind us, locking 2 deadbolts and sliding a thick wooden bar across the frame. The room was small, barely bigger than a studio apartment, with a cheap table, an old radio, maps pinned to the walls, and stacks of documents spread everywhere. He finally spoke. "You know my name?" I nodded slowly. "Evan Walker." His jaw tightened, the reaction of a man who hadn't heard his real name in a long time. Evan Walker, senior forensic auditor, Ravenwood employee, disappeared in 2018. Rumors said he took his own life. Rumors said he fled the country. Rumors said he stole millions. None of those rumors were true. And from the look in his eyes, I knew something else. Evan Walker didn't disappear. He was erased. I swallowed hard. "You're supposed to be dead." He gave a humorless half smile. "You and me both." He walked past me, grabbed a kettle from a portable stove and set it down. "I heard about Mark," he said without looking at me. My chest tightened. He saved my life." Evan nodded, jaw clenched, eyes dark. "He saved mine once too, and Daniel's, or tried to." My throat tightened. "But I thought that he betrayed us." Evan cut in. "That's what they wanted you to think. But no, Mark Hollis was one of the good ones, one of the only good ones left." He sat down at the cluttered table, motioned for me to sit across from him. The kettle began to whistle. The entire room suddenly felt too quiet. Evan leaned forward. "Show me what you brought." I slid the thumb drive onto the table. He didn't touch it yet. He stared at it like it was radioactive. "How did you get this?" "Lena," I said. "She hid it. Told me Daniel collected the data." Evan closed his eyes for a moment, like he was trying to hold himself together. "That kid," he whispered. She took a huge risk. He opened his eyes again and finally reached for the drive. This contains everything Daniel and I found. Everything Tom and his partners have been moving offshore. Money laundering, pension siphoning, illegal political contributions, all hidden in fake consulting fees and shell accounts across Europe. I felt my breath hitch. Why didn't the FBI stop them? Why didn't you report it? Evan laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Because the FBI didn't want to stop them. I froze. He leaned back, rubbing his face with his hands. Ravenwood isn't just a financial firm, Maya. It's a funnel, a pipeline. It launders money for people with real power. Politicians, CEOs, developers, maybe even officials inside federal agencies. The kind of people who don't get caught. That little stick is the only proof left, the only thing men like Tom Dawson can't bury. I felt the weight of it like a brick in my pocket. So, what do we do? I asked. He stared at me. First, you tell me everything. I took a shaky breath and started from the beginning. The open office door, the HR email, the unknown text, the parking garage, the rooftop, Mark, the SUV. When I finished, Evan just sat there, silent, absorbing it. Finally, he said, "They're scared of you." I blinked. What? Why? Because you're clean. Because you have 15 years of spotless records and a reputation even corruption couldn't touch. Because you weren't supposed to see anything. His voice softened. And because Daniel trusted you. He saw what you didn't, that you were next. I felt my throat tighten. Evan stood suddenly and moved to one of the maps on the wall. A large map of Ohio with red circles and lines drawn across it. He pointed at 3 locations: Columbus, Cincinnati, Detroit. These are the 3 laundering hubs. Ravenwood is the Columbus node. Tom Dawson is just a middleman. I stepped closer. Then who's the top? Evan hesitated. Then he spoke one name, a name that made the blood drain from my face. A name I knew, a name everyone in Ohio knew. Richard Halston, the biggest real estate developer in the Midwest, major donor to politicians, leader of community organizations, board member at Ravenwood Financial. A man whose smiling face was plastered on every billboard and commercial in Ohio. I whispered, "That's impossible. He's a Panther Philippist." Evan met my eyes. He's a criminal, a smart one, a dangerous one, and he's the one who ordered the cleanup of everyone who got too close, including you. My knees nearly buckled. Tom works for him? No, Tom works for whoever is paying him. Halston just happens to be holding the money. I pressed a hand against the table. So, what now? He leaned over the thumb drive. Now we get this to someone Halston can't buy. Who? Evan took a deep breath. The press, investigative reporters, the ones who ruin their careers rather than stay quiet. I nodded slowly. It made sense. But then Evan's eyes darkened. There's a problem, he said quietly. What? He stepped closer to the one small window in the room, looking out into the darkness. You were followed. My heart dropped. No, we lost them. Mark. Evan shook his head. You were followed here, and they're regrouping. A chill shot at my spine. How do you know? He motioned for me to come to the window. I stepped beside him. In the distance, near the tree line, I saw a faint pair of headlights. Not moving, not approaching, just waiting. Evan's voice dropped to a whisper. They know you're here, Maya. He turned to me. And they're not leaving without you.
The moment Evan said, "They're not leaving without you," a cold shock rolled down my spine. It wasn't fear anymore. It was the kind of clarity that comes when you realize there's no turning back, no safe return, no pretending this isn't happening. Someone powerful wanted me gone, someone with reach far beyond Ravenwood, and now they'd found us. Evan stepped back from the tiny window, jaw tense, every muscle in his body tightening like a coiled spring. "How long have they been out there?" I whispered. He grabbed a pair of binoculars from a shelf filled with maps and scattered papers. "Long enough," he said. "Too long." I felt the room tilt under my feet. "We shouldn't have come here." "Yes," Evan said sharply. "You should have. This is exactly where you needed to be." "Why?" I demanded. He turned to face me, intensity burning in his eyes. "Because once they found out you survived the rooftop, they knew you had evidence. They're moving fast because they're scared. Scared people make mistakes. And now we have a window." I frowned. "A window for what?" Evan pointed at the thumb drive. "To expose every last one of them." Before I could respond, the burner phone vibrated in my pocket. Evan's head snapped toward me. "Do not answer that." But the message preview flashed across the screen before I locked it. "Maya, step outside. You're surrounded. Don't make this worse." My breath punched out of me. Evan snatched the phone, clicked it off, removed the battery, and tossed both onto the table. "They're in range," he said. "They're close enough to ping the signal." I felt sick. "How many?" I whispered. Evan walked back to the window, using the binoculars. "3 cars," he said quietly. 2 SUVs on the road, 1 black sedan parked near the field. Probably 6, maybe 8 men. I felt my pulse slam into my throat. "Evan, what do we do if they break in?" He didn't look away from the window. "We don't let them." I swallowed hard. "Are you armed?" He lowered the binoculars. "No, but that doesn't matter right now, because we're not fighting them head on. We're outthinking them." He grabbed a folded map from the table and spread it open. "This house has 2 exits, the front door, which is suicide, and a maintenance hatch in the back that leads under the foundation." I blinked. "Under the foundation? That's not an exit, that's a crawl space." "It leads to the tree line. Daniel and I built it years ago." My heart cracked at the sound of Daniel's name. Evan tapped the spot on the map. "If we move fast, we can slip into the woods and they won't know we're gone until they break in." I nodded, adrenaline punching through my fear. "Let's go," I said. He held up a hand. "Not yet. I need to wipe this place." He grabbed a metal case from under the table, opened it, and revealed a stack of flash drives, printed documents, and a handful of burner phones. "Help me," he said. "Grab everything with names, dates, account numbers. Everything Daniel risked his life for." We moved fast. I grabbed paperwork and flash drives while Evan pulled files from hidden compartments in the wall. Within minutes, the table was empty, the maps stripped, the drawers cleared. Suddenly, Evan froze. I followed his gaze. Headlights. Closer now. Moving. 1 SUV pulled up directly behind the shed. The engine cut. They were here. Evan whispered, "Time's up." He grabbed a duffel bag stuffed with drives and documents, slung it over his shoulder, and motioned for me to follow him to the back corner of the room. He lifted a large piece of plywood from the floor and revealed a square metal hatch beneath it. "Get in," he said. My pulse slammed. "Evan..." No time. I dropped down into the darkness. The crawl space was cold, dirt-packed, barely high enough to crouch in. Evan lowered himself down behind me, pulling the hatch closed overhead. Then everything went black. We crawled forward on hands and knees, breathing clouds of cold air in the cramped darkness. The only light was a sliver from Evan's tiny penlight. "The exit's ahead," he whispered. But before we could reach it, a deafening crash echoed through the crawl space. The front door kicked open. Heavy boots pounded into the house. They were inside. "Maya!" shouted a voice I recognized all too well. Tom. My entire body froze. His footsteps moved across the floorboards above us, slow, deliberate. "Check the back rooms," he barked. "Find her." Evan pressed a finger to his lips and motioned for us to keep moving. We crawled faster, dirt scraping under our palms. Another voice shouted from above, "Sir, hatch is open." Tom cursed loudly. "Get under there now." Evan grabbed my arm. "Go." We scrambled forward, faster, desperate, hearts hammering like guns. Boots dropped heavily into the crawl space behind us. Flashlights flicked on. "They're in the tunnel. Move!" I gasped, scraping my elbows on the packed dirt as Evan shoved me toward the exit. "They're too close," I whispered. "No," he said through clenched teeth. "We're ahead. Keep going." The tunnel angled upward, a faint, cold draft hitting my face. The outside. We were almost at the exit. Behind us, voices grew louder. "There! I see them!" A flashlight beam hit the tunnel walls. "Maya, run!" Evan yelled. I pushed upward, dirt giving way as my hands broke through the brush at the edge of the tree line. Cold night air hit my face. I crawled out, snow crunching under my hands, and stumbled to my feet. I turned back for Evan, just as two men grabbed him by the ankles and dragged him backward into the darkness. "Evan!" I screamed. His flashlight hit the ground, rolling to my feet. He yelled one last thing. "Maya, run! Run!" His voice was cut off, choked, silenced. I grabbed the duffel bag he shoved out to me seconds before they dragged him back, and I ran. Into the trees, into the darkness, into the only direction left, the only direction still alive. My breath came out in clouds as I sprinted deeper into the woods, branches tearing at my sleeves, snow stinging my cheeks. Behind me, voices shouted from the tunnel exit, "She's in the trees! Fan out!" Footsteps pounded through the snow. Flashlights swept across the woods. But I didn't stop. Because now it wasn't just evidence in my hands. It was everything Evan had saved, everything Daniel died for, everything Mark tried to protect. And if I failed now, their deaths would mean nothing. I ran until my legs gave out, until the shouts disappeared, until I collapsed behind a fallen tree, gasping for air, clutching the duffel bag. The woods went silent. For the moment, I had escaped, but I wasn't safe. Not yet. Not even close.
Maya escaped the rooftop, survived the tunnel, and barely made it through the night. But she had no idea the real storm was only beginning. Because the moment she stepped onto that bus in Dayton, someone else stepped on right after her. Someone who wasn't supposed to know where she was. And while she thought she finally found a safe place to hide, powerful men were already preparing a plan to silence her forever. In part 3, every secret comes out. A newsroom war room, a federal raid, and the truth that shocks everyone. Don't miss part 3 because this is the part where justice finally fights back.